Hello, you're listening to WRKE 100.3 LPFM, Salem, streaming live online at WRKE.org and on the TuneIn app. Just search for WRKE. WRKE is on the air and streaming live because of listeners like you who appreciate the alternative choices that we provide. Hello there, my friends. I am Anakin Heidrich, your fellow host of the Heidrich Motivational Hour, inspired by the work of several speakers that I've been grateful to listen to, and their stories like, Les Brown and Zig Ziglar and Eric Thomas and David Goggins, among others. Their wisdom is just remarkable and beautiful, and honestly, I don't even have the right words to describe it. It's just something. It's one of a kind. I recommend it. I encourage you to follow my social media profiles on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And so for my YouTube, my professional Instagram profile, you can find me by searching the coolest pet in town. That's right, the coolest pet in town. And on my Facebook and my personal Instagram profile, you can search me through my name, Anakin Heidrich. And that's ANAKYNHEIDRICH. Again, that's ANAKYNHEIDRICH. If you have a story you feel is worth sharing and you feel can inspire others, it can be something about your family, it can be something you've heard, it can be a tale you know. If you feel it is important enough to inspire and help others to see their true worth that everyone should know that they have, especially now more than ever, highly recommend you send me your stories through commenting on any of the social media posts on the pages I have mentioned. Just understand, once you give me that consent to share, it will remain on air and on the audio files. The sender you will assume the risk upon giving me your consent. But if you are interested in being a co-host with me, as my last two guests have had the absolute utter thrill of being with me, like Jesse and Justin, find me on campus, comment on my post, like if you're a student, and I can help you make that a possibility. I also encourage my viewers to spread the word about this show. If you love this, let other people know. Spread the word. Tell them about the page. Tell them about the social media. Tell them about the show. Tell them about how you think it's changed you. I want to thank my last guest, Jesse McEwen, for making the last hour such a rich and thrilling experience. I will never forget our conversation. It's all intellectual dialogue. It's like an essay, intellectual dialogue. I can't wait to show you all the exciting thoughts and ideas I'm about to share with you, my friend. You will, as usual, will be in for an intellectual and inspiring hour this week. If you like these ideas, I tell you right now to use them. If not, disregard and let it be. Can you say to yourself, I can do that? Say, I can do that. Alrighty, my friends, let's get on the bandwagon. Stay hard and stay hungry, my friends. Throughout my life, I've had so many experiences shaping who I am. I mean, we all have, right? It's just as with anyone else. I've had certain films and music shape my life and my moral compass. We are always influenced by the world around us, whether it be through art, anything of sensory consumption, basically. We've all been influenced by the whole world we live in. We've all been influenced by nature. I personally believe I am in tune with nature. But if there's one thing that shaped me more in my moral compass and in my life than films, it has to be music. As insane as that sounds, yes, I learned quite a lot and get quite a amount of my knowledge and wisdom through the music I listened to and the movies I watched. When I was going to a Zoom conference with Les Brown, he showed us the knowledge pyramid, and at the very top is wisdom. I can say I am personally proud to have learned that. And one of the big factors of wisdom is that you never know it all. That defeats the purpose of wisdom. Wisdom is that you're always learning. It's just, you can never know it all. You can never expect. You can never anticipate. There are just things that you will never see coming. I mean, I've But anyways, back on topic. I've had the joy of listening to some of the greats of country and rock growing up, like with my mom on those cross-country trips. If you're listening to this, Mama, I love you. I've listened to Poison. That's my favorite rock band. You can never have too much Michael Jackson, in my opinion. I was always known as MJ at work because I always hee-heed and blasted his music. I've always loved Dwight Yoakam since I was 12, the great country singer and star of one of my favorite films. I've always loved singers like Garth Brooks, Travis Tritt, Mark Wills, George Strait, John Conley, Confederate Railroad, the Statler Brothers, Randy Travis, and Elvis, among others. And that's kind of the idea for the first segment of this show. Is to introduce you to a couple more songs of mine that I absolutely adore. I have my own little playlist of positive music because I know myself that there will be times when I need it. When I was in cognitive behavioral therapy a while back, we were always said to be careful with the music that we pick, and that's kind of what led me to keep this playlist that I've created, because there are always going to be times when you're always going to need something to lead on, and if you don't have someone near you, sometimes you might need that mute. Sometimes it might be music, and for me, it is music. So, again, you have to be careful with music. Sometimes that sad blue music is necessary for grieving or for being your worst times of your life. But you also need to understand that the blues don't always need more blues. It's the last thing they need. I've had to learn that myself, and I'm still learning more because I'm human. Again, that's all part of wisdom. If you know certain sad music is going to drop your mood, avoid it. Like I said, I have my own playlist that's not entirely positive, but it is what I need to get through the necessary, and it won't necessarily drag me down in sorrow when life is already full of it, as it is. That's just how it is. Sometimes life is pain. I'm not saying that the sorrow music is unnecessary, but there are always a time and place when those sorrowful songs are necessary. But anyways, these two songs are also from Bob Seger and have helped me keep my head up through my toughest times. A key theme from the show. I really hope you enjoy these. Well, there you have it, my friends. So those, there's just no better way to communicate messages through the arts, through the song, through music, through film, through theater, even. But these two songs, have always helped me maintain a positive attitude, and it's some of those songs that you don't really, hear often on, your radio stations across the country. It's kind of shame. It's like we narrow down an artist to just one or two songs, but by doing so, we basically take their whole experience and their whole, almost their entire career, and just disregard it just for a few one-hit wonders or whatever. It's kind of a shame, and honestly, that's why I've always preferred the albums, and I've always listened to, the other songs on these albums, because I've discovered songs like these that you had just listened to. I mean, but again, these two songs, Shining Bright and Little Victories, they've got me through hard times. As with anything else, I've listened to Shining Brightly, especially on my way to Georgia during that fateful encounter at the Les Brown Convention in Georgia on the 1st of February. The idea of the dark clouds rolling away, symbolizing the end of the constant struggle and the ability to breathe once in a while. Boy, do we all need that. To finally be free from pain or past trauma is something we all need to do. Is an emotional relief like no other, and it truly does relieve the body, my friends. And sometimes you gotta do it any way you can. You talk to somebody, talk to your therapist, talk to your family, if you have that type of supportive family, or talk to just about anybody. I mean, I've developed some good relationships with many people just because we've kind of learned to talk about our problems, and we've learned to resolve through them. I mean, again, it's a relief like no other to keeping and ruminating on past trauma and the past overall. You can't hold on to tomorrow if you're still holding on to yesterday. It keep ruminating keeps the physical pain going in the body, and it tends to show up in the gut and the mind. And yes, I heard that right. It's the gut. They say the gut is like the second brain of the body, and it is capable of internalizing much more than you think. As our brain up in our heads. As it responds to stress through the headaches, the gut will respond through ulcers, aches, gastrointestinal issues, among others. Sometimes, like, the brain will respond through certain, mental health problems, and then the gut will internalize and communicate to you through physical pain. I've been there. I mean, the gastrointestinal issues, it's not a fun ride, my friends. I used to internalize so much that it made me sick. I used to take so much personal that made me nauseous. My mom used to always say, if you internalized and took everything that has ever been told to you personal, it would make you sick. And just like always, Mom knows best. She is absolutely right. I mean, one of the key ideas in these songs is the idea that the future is looking good at last, because I believe if there's no hope in the future, then there's going to be no future at all, my friends. I think we need hope now more than ever. Constantly telling yourself and the world that it's all going to be okay is comforting, and there's also a bit of truth on it. They say death and life is in the tongue, and I believe there's power in our words. So if we can usually say that maybe there could be something bright in the future, then the future will be bright. There's a part of you that needs to be tough and bluntly honest with yourself, but there's another part of you that needs to be comforting and forgiving of yourself, because we will all fall through and all fall short every once in a while. The song, among several other greats of singers, is what builds who I am today, and I'm not afraid of my past or of sharing it. You ask me my story, I will tell you my story. To me, Bob Seger's songs is one of the reasons I'm still living today, and are some of the reasons I have to keep living. I never want to lose that. I always want to hold on to his music, among others. His music instantly raises my mood all the time. It provides relief even in my darkest moments, the side of me that no one sees. We all have that side of us that no one wants to see, the part that isn't healed, the part that isn't seen. I mean, it isn't believed, and we're all misunderstood. We've all had our problems. We've all faced trauma. We've been fed in response to this. Society and higher ups have trained us to be fed so much toxic positivity that it's honestly nauseating, and it's why so many of us in society have become so depressed. We've always been told good vibes only. Well, I'm going to tell you that every vibe is welcome. To many of us who are unable to be our true selves, because society has told us to suppress our emotions for the sake of production and constantly consuming, we're always being given that artificial fake dopamine, like AI, scrolling, pornography, most social media, processed foods that numb your mind and mess with your memory. It's happened. You got to watch for those sodas. You got to watch for that junk food. It'll mess with your mind. It's just temporary satisfaction and long-term suffering is how I look at it. It's those constant notifications on your phone that are designed to keep you on your phone, and the constant need to be on your TV, looking at a screen, being on electronics, always on the news, and always trying to be in tune with what they want you to do, because when they have the information, they can twist it however they want, my friends. I'm going to tell you that right now. You always question. But let me tell you something that will never keep you in tune with the world. This fake dopamine is just temporary relief given for long-term emotional pain and stress again. And it impacts your body. Your body is in pain. It's trying to tell you something. I highly suggest you listen to it, my friend. There isn't always beauty in perseverance, my friend. Now, I'm not telling you that healing is ever worth it. It always is. Trust me. Again, that release of emotional pain is worth it. Always. It's what you need. It's better that way. We need to stop the toxic positivity, trying to prolong. It just intensifies depression, it intensifies anxiety, and it's just more painful, because that's what depression is the suppression of the emotions. It's like Jim Carrey says, you are in deep rest. But again, healing is just like a plane. There will always be turbulence, and I highly recommend that you buckle up and prepare yourself. And it's going to be messy. It can be rageful. Sometimes you need to rage. You need to do it healthily, but you need to rage sometimes. It's going to be emotional. I don't speak for everyone when I say it, but sometimes these are the factors based off who you are. It's going to be painful. It's not exactly the truth society wants to face. It's not always beautiful. Healing from past trauma is a complex experience, but it's something you must face and overcome, or else it's going to eat you alive. You can either let your pain and trauma become your tombstone or your motivation. You're not being too sensitive, my friend. You're just being human. I had to learn that. Sometimes there are just lessons that time can teach, and only time can teach. And that one to me was, you're not always being sensitive. You're just being human. Life can be unbearable, but there's so much that can make it worth it. For me, it's that music. The joy of your mom making you your favorite food, seeing the family you love, the friends you have. But there's the passion you have, the dream you want, that book you want to write, those movies you want to watch, or like those songs you love. Like for me, it's Bob Seger, the beauty of literally going out there in nature. I personally feel that I am tuned with nature. I have no problem stopping in the middle of nowhere and walking in the middle of nowhere at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, just listening to the wind howl. It's beautiful. The deer run, the trees blow in the breeze. Nature is what makes us who we are, and I feel like we've strayed too far from it. I mean, I feel that being in nature relieves my nerves. I always thought that if I had a past life, that maybe I lived off the grid, maybe I was Amish. I love the idea of simple living, and by that I don't mean a problem-free existence, because there will always be problems, and overcoming our problems makes us who we are. But removing yourself from the constant tune into the urban societies where everything nearly feels artificial, and you're always told what to consume, to produce, food to love, what to hate, what race to support, what race to hate, to support this candidate, hate that candidate, when both wings are part of the same bird. We need to cut the screens and sound out often and just focus and set with our minds. Look ourselves in the mirrors, meditate, and truly reflect. Every time I watch the news, I literally cannot help but see those robotic alien faces, like in some of my favorite movies, like They Live. I believe there is always truth in fiction, and there's a lot of truth in that film. It's an amazing film, a little campy, but I highly recommend it because there's so much reality in it. I feel like it's way ahead of its time, and it's almost a documentary. We need to put the glasses on and wake up. We're always told in society, toxicity, like good vibes only. I don't want to hear any negativity or any sorrow, when life is often filled with sorrow, and we need to vent and let our problems off our chest. Some of that depression comes from keeping that trauma in you. It's better for your physical and mental health, trust me, to get those problems off your chest. We're often told to keep pushing forward, but never told we can slow down or call sometimes just to catch a breath. You can't recover moving 120 miles per hour for months or years at a time. To say, that's life, and to keep moving is something that the world has, pushed onto people. It's to say that one's experience is not important, or it's like one size fits all. It's easy for the listener to say. You are figuratively asking one to run while wheelchair bound by simply saying keep going or deal with it. It doesn't solve the problem. It's only easy and comforting for the listener, but not for the one who's actually struggling. I may not know the solution to this problem right now, but I definitely know the problem, as I've said, and I think it needs to be called out more often in our society. I believe that to solve the problem, we need to admit that there is one. That's always the first step. Next step is to solve it, my friends. Figure it out. Sorrow, pain, and love is how we know we are alive. Like my mom said, we're moving, there's 5,280 feet in a mile. That's 5,280 steps, my friend. Every step counts. Everything counts. If I'm not honest about what I say, I am just playing an act. I am not being sincere or true if I'm not honest about what I say. It's who I am, honest. Sometimes we need to stop looking at the entire picture. It gets overwhelming. Sometimes we need to be in the frame, and then sometimes we need to get in the picture because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. Start small if you want. Have those comforts every now and then. Plant seeds of goodwill, as my mom always said. Make a list of friends, acquaintances, bosses, and the family in your life, and reach out to them at least once a week. Message them, call them, see them, ask how they're doing. Sometimes when someone's grieving, you don't just call. Sometimes you need to show up. It's not about building brownie points. It's about building and maintaining those important relationships in your life that often get overlooked when focusing on our schooling, careers, and relationships, and and work life in general. God bless. It's just like another Bob Singer song I love, he says, then we find one day we've lost our way and our love's the last to know. We have put our love last. We have put our care for others last when in our worldly pursuits. We've lost our work-life balance. We've always been told to have a passion for the job, and sometimes that passion just needs to be surviving another day and making the rent. I mean, nowadays we put the work of 3 people on one person but never pay them what they're worth. We've constantly building the businessman's dreams without building any of ours. There's nothing wrong with building someone else's dreams, but you don't want to devote all your energy and push your boundaries or self-respect, or else you will wind up helping them build yours, and you will never build yours, and they will never help you in return. You need to respect yourself. I mean, most companies will not remember your name a month from when you die, not even a week, sadly. You will not always be remembered. They'll clean your office out before your body is even cold when you're dead, or you're on the road to a new job. Yes, it's good to have pride in your work, not in your character. Pride cometh before the fall. Ego's God, edging God out. But it's good to have pride of what you're doing, and have a sense of grinding when you're chasing what you love. But we also need to slow down quite a bit and remember what we're doing, what we love for. Sometimes we lose our why and we lose our focus and focus on doing something simply for selfish desires. But little do we think about other people in society we're trying to do what we do for. You must have a purpose and a reminder to keep you on track when you're working towards your passion and your dream. I've seen too many people neglect to call or see the people they love, and heard too many stories, and because they become numb in what they do, and it makes them depressed when they deprive themselves of that. They say that, you avoid our people because they don't tell us what we want to hear, and we have AI always telling us what we want to hear. And sometimes, that's why some people are literally going insane, is when they're constantly told they want to hear. There's no sense of growth, and there's no sense of adventure, because growth and adventures and pains and sorrows is what keeps us alive. I mean, people forget about their kids, their family, their friends, their mentors, and their life when they get too deep in the weeds of what they're doing. We need to step back and reach out to those we love and know. They need it. It's not optional. I guarantee you right now that if you walk into any room of 100 people, there are at least 10% of those people that don't even want to get out of bed and didn't even want to be there or be alive today. 10 of those people are drowning. 10 those people are suffering from mental issues like depression and anxiety or panic disorders, trauma, PTSD, complex PTSD, unresolved traumas and pains that they are working actively to fix, and health problems. Please reach out. I've had friends save my life by texting me and calling me at the right time. You just might call or reach that person you love or family member at the right time. Reach out. I'm telling you, it's no longer optional. Society needs it. I'm not asking you to reach out. I'm honestly telling you to at this point. Too many people are neglected, and it's too much for me to watch and bear society to leave those people in the ashes. It's not noble to ignore the good people you love and make work your excuse all the time. You can always work later. There are no excuses to not reach out. Work can wait. Your families, your members, your friends, your acquaintances, and your mentors cannot always wait. We've been chosen out of these millions of cells to not end up in the graves. It's not fair. And another thing, removing the processed foods can be one of the best things, not just for your physical health, but for your mental health. Processed foods don't directly affect your mental health, but they affect sleep, your thinking, your mental health, your gut issues, and all that can affect the mentality in hand. I'm telling you right now, you want to believe what the food industries do to our food. It's honestly nasty and disgusting. Our food is so processed that most foods the FDA doesn't even consider food. Most of our foods are not even considered food in other countries, are banned in other countries. I've found out recently most of our makeups that we put on, our mascara, has so many chemicals known to cause cancer and radiation and long-term skin damage in our body. Well, Europe has outlawed over 17,000 of these chemicals in their makeup products. I am not kidding. These same companies produce more dangerous and more chemical-induced products in the U.S. The U.S. has only banned, out of these 17,000, 11. Not 1,100, not 11,000, 11 of these chemicals I've come to find out. Another thing, attendance. and resilience is the most important and respective skill above talent. I'll be the first to admit that I don't speak that because I am necessarily untouchable or infallible. No one is. I need this advice as much as I'm given it. There's always something you can do better. Practice makes improvement, not imperfection. An okay performance today is better than trying to make a perfect day tomorrow. It's better to kick your worst habit first before practicing your best skill. Don't try to fill your bucket while there's holes in it. As my theater professor in high school once said, there will always be boring aspects as anyone or anything you do. So you might as well push through it. We need it. We need to learn to be bored. Sometimes I say we need to embrace boredom. I think that we are constantly given the idea of never being enough and having to constantly aspire for no more. While there's nothing wrong with dreaming and having aspiration, I do encourage you to follow through. There has to be a greater reason for it beyond simple monetary or personal gain. Like Eric Thomas said in his book, You Owe You. We're constantly in search of our why, and we need to always have one, even if our why doesn't immediately show up. And this is the next book I want to discuss, Eric Thomas's book, You Owe You. I love this so much that I actually, after checking it out from the library, I bought it just so I could mark it up with sticky notes. It's worth every penny. Lorenzo Ray Phillips, a very respectable speaker and down-to-earth friend of mine now, that I met February 1st in Atlanta, Georgia, who may be on my show soon, spoiler alert, said he would always remember me as the young, hungry kid with the sticky note and Les Brown book, who had so much potential and capability. When reading Eric Thomas's You Owe You, something really stuck with me reading it. He said Les Brown was one of the very few well-known speakers in the speaking field who was African-American, and Eric Thomas, the author of this book, was inspired to be another African-American voice in a speaking field where usually white supremacy rules. He believed he could change it. I thought that in the same way I could be one of the first, if not the first, neurodivergent autistic motivational speaker in the field, another marginalized group in society to this day, tossed to the side. Neurodivergence is amazing as it brings people to new ways of thinking. I've had uncles, my best friend Stephanie, I've had my boss Sheila, I've had my oldest brother, my mom Kevin, and several teachers tell me that with my neurodivergent mind that I'm wise beyond my years and time, and that there's anything I can do, and I can do it if you put your mind to it. I love it. It's like that song Lose Yourself by Eminem. You got one shot to not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity may come once in a lifetime. That right there says something alone, that I can introduce something entirely new to the table beyond simply, being motivated and evoking emotions, but transforming and redefining the way the future generations will think if we can make it. I don't want to simply be a motivational speaker, but one who teaches discipline, who can be their father figure to those who may have many in need, like Les Brown was for me, and still is. It's not common to compare, the African-American race with the neurodivergent kids, and that's not what I mean to do. But, the fact that both demographics feel similar made it feel right to say, especially before, autism and neurodivergence was even a word, term, or thought. A marginalized demographic can make, if a marginalized demographic like Les Brown and Eric Thomas can make such a splash, so could I. None of my time reading ever goes to waste, my friend. Trust me. But anyways, I also wanted to talk about some of my favorite films because they all have key themes relating to what I want to get across in the show, and they're kind of a part of who I am. They all have a theme, they say your top 10 films might reveal something about you. If you always seem to have liked the action films and they're always in your top 10, maybe chances are you have a sense of justice. You never know. Resilience has always been key to me, and my top 10 films are, and if you don't want to hear spoilers, I suggest you don't listen to this. The number one favorite film of all time is The Shawshank Redemption. I've loved Citizen Kane is number 2. Number 3 is Jordan Peele's Get Out. Number 4 is Billy Bob Thornton's Sling Blade. Number 5 is Ryan Coogler's Sinners. Number 6 is 12 Angry Men. Number 7 is Scent of a Woman. Number 8 is Darabont's The Green Mile, director of Shawshank. Number 9 is Spielberg's classic Saving Private Ryan. And number 10 is the Good Will Hunting, probably my favorite Robin Williams part to ever be taken. And I have my reasons for these, as you will come to see, and you will hear them. Shawshank Redemption's Andy Dufresne was traumatized by the prison's brutality and violence, forced to carry out the Norton's fraud, wrongfully accused of murder, and slowly broke out after 20 years, making a name for himself, finally finding Red, played by Morgan Freeman, his friend in prison, at the beach in the end. Both fight the urge to be overly dependent on the prison walls and try to come back out into the real world without feeling so institutionalized, spending half of their lives in prison. It's always going to be my top film of all time because it was the one film that made me say to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. That ending will always, I'm really the first to admit it, make me emotional. When we discover our passion, there's always that moment of realization, and you never see it coming, my friend. Trust me. Watching this gave me the passion to want to direct true, authentic films, and I've never let go of it since that fateful day in December of 2023. I watched it twice back to back on my first experience, and I've never done that before. That's kind of how I knew. I had a theater director in high school, Miss Larico, say plays and films are no better way to spread messages. It's one I will definitely never get tired of watching anytime soon. I can promise you that. My second all-time favorite, as you know, is Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. It's considered to be the greatest film of all time, and honestly, I can see why. It literally raises the hair on my arm. It gives me those goosebumps every time I watch it. Kane never had parents who loved him. He became selfish and didn't grow up with the maternal love. He went from inciting war and political violence to hitting his second wife. They threw tantrums like a child and had everything, but materialistically, but no one really knew him, which is why that ending is so sad for me. Citizen Kane, that last shot, watching the rosebud sled and getting burned and the reverse shot of Xanadu never leaves me dry-eyed. It's the way it's showing how Kane's greed consumed him and managed to lose even the most innocent time of his life under his eternal care. No one truly knew the man, and everyone who knew of him will never truly, truly know the portrait of a man who was never loved after having left his mother behind. He becomes he becomes another man, just who's known for being stuck in the political fiasco, material wealth, fame, and notoriety to society, instead of being remembered for what truly once made him human. It's all overshadowing, and it's all disheartening to me to watch, and it's ridiculous how much it's parallel to so many of the political figures of any time. The film, only becomes significantly even more relevant in this decade alone. It's one of the top films I suggest anyone watch at least, once before they die. It has the best closing shot. It's watching a human being lose his humanity, and it will never not leave me emotional. Get Out is my third favorite, the Jordan Peele classic. Get Out's main character, Chris Washington, has a mother who he as survivor gets guilt for, feeling he was responsible for his mother's accident and death. He deals with ignorance and racism among his girlfriend's family, barely coming out of the house alive at the end, similar to reflecting the fears African Americans have faced throughout America. He deals with ignorance, violence, threats, and racism, but can never escape or confront it, as he didn't want to see him as a criminal or trouble starter. It's just the idea of taking someone for their abilities and sucking the life out of them. That's basically what we have done in society. It highlights how people in society, not just African Americans, but you can say almost any race, at one point in our humanity's history, aren't openly prejudiced, but will still be pushed aside, and their intellect and strength are stolen from them in the real world. And then his other film, Us, not on my top 10, but definitely on my top 100, I also thought was thought-provoking because it shows how humanity always disparages the lower class and shows how we're often our own worst enemy. It's one of the most recent films I've truly enjoyed. So much critique there I've yet to discover, and I want to watch it again, so this is the best I can explain it. But Jordan Peele has always been an inspiration to me ever since watching Get Out, and seeing him leave his roots of Key and Peele and the comedy troops to this. It's brilliant. I still need to watch his latest film, but I always had the idea of wanting to work with him. My fourth choice, Sling Blade. Sling Blade's character, Carl, played by Billy Bob Thornton, was traumatized from his father's abuse, the refuser of fatherly love, and seeing his baby brother die. He knew no world outside of the psychiatric hospital and his shed he was locked in as a child until he found a family he could fight for, despite, what he did at the end being highly debatable. He kind of smiled in and of himself, and he helped save his new family. He felt proud, and he felt a family who appreciated him for what he saw as good deeds and didn't see him as institutionalized and didn't see him as marginalized, but they saw him as truly worthy of love. There's often truth in fiction, and I love this film because it critiques society's marginalization of the mentally disabled. It's also a special film for me because I have a late friend who recommended it to me. I recommend it as with my other favorites. The most recently released film on my list, and a controversial choice to be so high on someone's favorites, is the latest Ryan Coogler film, Sinners. The twins are traumatized by World War I, and they have had hardened. All one wanted was to come back home with his wife, and the other always felt like the last day he didn't turn into the vampire was the best day he got, because he got to see his brother alive one last time. One of them can't even light their cigarettes because of their fidgety fingers, thanks to the PTSD and traumas from World War I. Both are tough, but they love each other in the end. One wants to love his wife and daughter while coming home in spite of the crimes they committed in Chicago, knowing no better. It's one of the smartest films I've seen in recent years, where sequels, reboots, and remakes and AI are often taking hold. I love it for that reason. It's one of those few precious gems, and the cinematic complexity, richness, and genius make it such an important, findable film for anyone to watch, in my opinion. A rare mix of horror, vampires, Jim Crow, and the South. Coogler does such an amazing job that it baffles me with the likes of Peele and Frank Darabont with The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile. He does a good job depicting marginalization like several films on my list, as I've mentioned before. My next one, 12 Angry Men, is a courtroom classic. It's one of the first films I've watched in any film class. I've watched it in the 7th grade and have fallen in love with it since. It's a powerful critique of our justice system, but it will always have a place in my heart. Being so human, he's just... in the end, one of the jurors in the film refused to even plead innocent because of their strained relationship with his son, and the son, convicted of the parent's homicide, has also been traumatized. The juror realizes his love for his child in spite of the strained relationship between his son, and finally pleads innocent. It's just something that kind of always stuck with me. I've never fully understood it, all the political and social science, political science themes in it, and I'm still learning. But man, there's just always that human side that I never cease to understand. The 7th choice on my list is Son of a Woman, and that holds a special spot in my heart. Son of a Woman, character Colonel Slade was depressed, blind, and traumatized from war until he learned and saw someone named Charlie who broke through his barrier and gave him a reason to live. He finally triumphs, and he defends his friend Charlie through a speech I absolutely love. And throughout, he develops a fondness for Charlie, despite being so spiteful and hateful at first. I love the speech so much. I nearly memorized it, and I always joked about it with myself, and always joked saying, I can use this for theater auditions if I needed to. God, I loved it. The next one, The Green Mile, was another one that sparked my flame for film, like Darabont did in his previous film, The Shawshank Redemption. God. The Green Mile's, Paul Edgecombe is traumatized, killing John Coffey, an innocent man, or an angel, in this case, convicted of 2 homicides he never committed in the horrors of the Great Depression. John Coffey dealt with torture, racial slurs, brutality, and other people's ignorance and sympathy. But in spite of it all, he never held grudges to anyone. He was just a gentle giant who wanted to help, and the world's racism, classism, and stereotypes blinded him from seeing his kind and gentle nature. It's a reminder of not judging by cover. It may not be the most correct take, but it's my take, and that's just how I am. My ninth choice, Saving Private Ryan, was one of the first films that introduced me to Spielberg's genius after watching Jaws. It's honestly one of the best films he's ever directed, and I have several yet to watch, and so much to learn from him still. He's an inspiration to me as well. Saving Private Ryan's opening Omaha Beach scene still gives me the goosebumps and nearly leaves me shaking alone. But all the tracking shots in that film really get you into the horrors of World War II and just war in general. It's such a stark reminder of humanity and what it could be capable of at its absolute worst. They deal with the loss of their brothers and the loss of Platoon, who want to bring him back home in spite of the Normandy storm, battles, horrors, and eventually feel some sort of pride and honor in realizing what this group did to save Ryan and his bloodline. It sends chills down my spine to this day, and I do not regret having watched it. I consider it essential to not just filmgoers, but for humanity to watch. My 10th choice, and probably my most relevant, is Good Will Hunting. It's probably Robin Williams' best film he ever starred in my opinion. I always felt like it always ran the most parallel to my life. Not entirely, but a decent chunk. Will Hunting was, abused, troubled, highly intelligent, and had only a few friends, but couldn't break free from his violence, and constantly wanting to be right and disrespectful until therapist Sean teaches him, controls him, and even hugs Will as he cries, realizing he carried pain for years. He never found a healthy way to release his emotions until he found someone like Sean. Even he broke up with his own friend or own girlfriend because he felt he was incapable and he was afraid of change and felt undeserving of a woman who truly wanted him for him. This was another girlfriend who truly didn't see him as troubled, just saw him for being simply himself and with his, intellectual goofs. He finally goes out there and tries again with her and also makes his brothers proud when he uses intellect for good. Sean was stern, but was caring and grew to break through Will's shell. The pain he released crying to Sean for years feels like a fantasy for some people. It's a welcome sight. Honestly, just to, see the release and feel the release of the emotional pain earlier, and no one could have done it better in this film for me than besides Robin Williams. A brilliant kid that struggled with inner demons in his past, who was given several chances at life while pushing the good people out of his life. Will had a math professor who was using him while finding a professor who could see through him, who was stern but caring, as I've mentioned. Someone who had brothers and friends that wanted to see him use his talents and brilliance in the real world, like how my best friend for life, Kevin, wants to see my name on the big screen so badly. He was a kid who acted tough but was obsessive, used his brilliance to kind of hide the trauma. He was just a scared kid who was afraid of getting hurt again. He was one of those going out there and facing the world every day, despite being misunderstood, and had someone who understood every way how hard his life had been. But in the end, he grows and tries to chase the woman of his dreams that he ran off, even though he takes the risk that she may not want him again, and accepts that risk. There's growth involved. It's not a kid stuck in victimhood anymore. He goes out there and chases the life his brothers could only dream of. Whether it works out or not, he takes the list. He goes out there, and if there's one film I could recommend that everyone sees it in their lifetime at least once, aside from the ones I mentioned prior, it definitely has to be this. That list of mine, my top 10 list, will never change. Anything else can change, but that top 10 list will never change. These are the films that built my canon overall, and are the top 10 films that made me want to work in film alone. These top 10 films are my origins to learning about cinema and life and wanting to direct films as well. These are the films that make me, me. These top 10 films all have the aspects that feel relevant to me, especially relating to the society that we live in right now that suppresses emotion for production. Film can shape you in powerful ways if you watch the right ones. As always, thank you for sticking with me, and I'll see everyone later. I want you all to always stay hungry, positive, negative when necessary, and proactive, my friends. Always question everything. Here is a classic I would love to show y'all before I go. It's another personal favorite of mine, the song I mentioned earlier, Love's the Last to Know. Thank you. So, there you have it, my friends. I really, really appreciate you giving me your time and being such an amazing listener. I mean, we, just love it. I mean, WRKE, we value our listeners. We don't take you for granted or sell listeners to advertisers. We're here for you 24/7 with a curated blend of alternative and indie music, as well as our content produced by our Roanoke College students. Thank you for sharing your listening day with us. You are listening to WRKE 100.3 LPFM Salem, streaming live online at WRKE.org and on the TuneIn app. Just search for WRKE. As always, thank you, my friends, and question everything, and I love y'all, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.